Hey folks, Jake and I are here to show the rest of my Russ Taff album and CD collection. Um, in the first video, I um, I showed the Sands of Joy and Imperials era stuff that Russ did, and now we're going to get started on his solo career. If I seem a little distracted or sound a little awful, it's because I've got some really bad allergies working, trying to get through it. Because tomorrow we head to, I'll head to Bell Buckle with my buddy Dave for Russ's performance. Actually, we'll stop in Nashville and watch Russ's performance at the Grand Ole Opry and then on to Bell Buckle. So, all right, let's get started. So, 1983, Russ Taff, Walls of Glass. This is where I discovered Russ. I guess it was summer of 83. And this shows some of the close degrees, the close connection going on here. Such a small world. All right, so summer of 1983, my youth and music minister, Mike Osborne, he recorded this album. Well, not this particular album, but he recorded a copy of this album onto a blank cassette. And he brought it with on the choir tour. I don't think there's that big orange Myrrh label. I don't think he saw the tape again after he gave it to me. I played that thing over and over and over again for the whole week. What are the connections? Well, of course, singing backup on this album was on at least one song was Reba Rambo and Donnie McGuire. The musical we were performing that summer was Messiah, Bright Morning Star. And that was a musical written by Reba and Donnie McGuire. Also, the feature soloist in my youth choir at that time was Allison Durham Spear, who you have often seen in Gaither videos sitting in the choir with Russ. So, small world. But this is such a great album. I love this album. I wore it out. I first owned it on, when I got back, I bought it on cassette. I wore that cassette out, had to buy it again on cassette. I have it on CD as well. I don't know if this is the original CD that I had. I can't remember. Anyway, so I've had it on CD. I've had it on vinyl a number of times. This one, if you'll notice, there's a smudge right there. It's where I took it to Bell Buckle last year. I was going to, my intention was to have Russ sign this and then put this in a frame. But I was so excited. You know, you walk with somebody's music as much as I have walked with his, and there's so much you want to say because their music has just meant so much to you. And I guess I get excited and so when I put it back in the box, I smeared the signature. That's okay. Let me show you the rest of the cover. There's some great pictures on it. Pictures of Russ on the back, like that one of him and Tori. That's such a great picture. And then the inner sleeve that has lyrics on that side. On this side, more great pictures. Another great one of Russ and Tori. Then the band, which is a little small. It's kind of hard to see. But that is Walls of Glass. He won a Grammy, I believe, best gospel male performance, I believe. Um, some great musicians played on this. Like I said, Reba Rambo, Donnie McGuire, Lori Boone did background vocals on Into the Lamb. Michael Amardian played on this. Jeff Porcaro, who played drums, and I believe he played in Toto. Um, yeah, just some great musicians. Fantastic album. I won't lie, it feels like an 80s album, but I think it holds up. The songs are just spectacular, and the playing is phenomenal. So there you have it. That's Walls of Glass, his solo debut. Then in '85, Russ Taff, Metals. Another album that I have on CD. Myrhh Records. Did I say it was 85? It was 85. This one there's that gold Myrhh Records label. I'm guessing there are probably a lot of copies that have an A&M label, because he would have been singing for A&M by that time in his career. Well, I'm sorry, not singing for A&M. By that time, the A&M Word Records distribution deal would have been signed, because it seemed to me that I first bought this on cassette, and I bought it in a major mainstream record store in the mall in Atlanta when I was down there. Fantastic album. It seemed to me that he won some major awards for this album as well. Great songs like Not Gonna Bow and Rock Solid. There he is on the back. I love Russ. I think he, as stylish as the Walls of Glass cover is, I wonder what his feelings about that picture might be. I would love to ask him sometime. How does that picture hold up for you? There he is, Metals. Great memory from this tour. A buddy of mine, Shane Cummins, and I, we came up to Louisville. I was in my hometown in Danville at the time, and I wasn't living up here in Louisville. So we drove up here to Louisville. I think he was playing Freedom Hall, wherever he was, or was it Louisville Gardens? Might have been Louisville Gardens. So we came up. We were right at the door. We sat front row center for that concert. And I remember a little guy named Phil Kagi coming out. And I thought, man, we got to sit through this guy to get to Russ. Little did I know who Phil Kagi was. But he was a man. It was quite an education. And that was quite a concert. So, again, we got the original inner sleeve. Nice pictures. Russ and Tori. Sweet picture. Good stuff. Got lyrics. And that. I don't know why this album kept getting compared. What is this? Oh, okay. A lot of, back in the day, a lot of artists did ads for not ads, but they tried to raise money for children in third world countries. So there's Russ and Tori. This is an insert in the Metals album. I'm not sure which. This is Music Mercy, a ministry of world vision. So you got that going on. All right, so that's metals. Uh, this next one, one of my dear buddies, Alan Ross, his mom Judy, she deserves sainthood for putting up with me for this album. This album was delayed. It was his third solo album. It's the self-titled Russ Taff. I called Judy worked at the local Christian bookstore in Danville. I called her too many times. Is the new Russ Taff album out? Back then, I didn't know anything about album release dates. So, forgive me, Judy. I'm a better record collector now. I know about that, so I'm not. But we didn't have the internet back in, what was this, 87? 88. And this is what I'm talking about. This is an A&M. It's Horizon, but you see the A&M logo? So this was probably bought in a mainstream store instead of a Christian bookstore. Probably would have had the orange Myrrh label if it had been bought in a Christian bookstore. Back. This is an amazing album as well. More rock, a little bit more guitar-oriented rock than the previous two. But this was probably a milestone in Christian music Russ really started getting vulnerable on this album and writing and performing songs that talked about struggle. Of course, when we see the documentary, I think we'll maybe even have a better idea of the struggle that he was going through. Talk about the documentary that was shot and will be shown in late December, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so this was a very honest album. Lots of great songs. Especially his cover of The Call's "I Still Believe." Just brilliant. But songs like "Shake" and "This Love Is Strong" and "Higher." Wow, what an album. Original inner sleeve. It's kind of a real faded picture of Russ. And then the lyrics. This is a brutally honest album. He covers Charlie Peacock's "Down in the Lowlands." Just, yeah. And that was the type of, so many artists at this point were presenting to us these, and it's not their fault. They're trying to present themselves in a positive way, but I think sometimes what happens is that so an artist is in front of you for just a short amount of time. You've got their record, and you go to see them in concert. You spend, see them for a couple hours, and then you think, go home feeling like, man, that was great, but I don't know that God works in my life like he does in this person's life. And that's why I appreciate Russ so much for being as honest as he is about where he's coming from spiritually. And it's the same way with, I felt the same way after I saw the Rich Mullins documentary that showed some of his flaws and the sin he was dealing with. And it's not to glorify the sin, but man, you come out feeling like, well, you know what, maybe I'm not a hopeless case anyway. Maybe the same God that they're talking about, that they have a relationship with, I can have that too. And maybe I've got that. Maybe I can get that. And makes them more relatable, and not something that, man, I can't get it together. Can't get it together. And like they got it together. Well, maybe they don't have it all together quite so much. Maybe we're all in this struggling. I know I am. So this is another album that I have on CD. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Love this album. And Judy, thank you so much. If you ever see this video, thank you so much for not shooting me. Okay, thank you. All right, then the the promotion of that album, this album, the self-titled Russ Taff was so strong. The first song off here is Shake. Okay, so they did a whole radio promotion. This is a kind of a unique piece in my collection. It's Shake. Christian artists face the music, and this is radio interviews. This was meant to be played on the radio. It's Myrrh Artist, and they used the title track or the first track from that self-titled album as kind of the theme for this entire program. All of the great Myrrh artists, I mean, Greg Voles, Kim Boyce, Phil Keggy, Jimmy Lee of the Imperials, Derry Dartery and Steve Hindalong of the Choir, Mylon Lefevre, Steve Taylor, David Meese, Brandy Stonehill, more people than I can even mention, all interviewed in this. It was, and side one of this, Shake, Christian artist, face the music. Side one is Russ Taff for 17 minutes. How awesome is that? So that's a nice, unique piece. Glad to have found, and I think I found this at a sidewalk sale for like 50 cents. And I see them online going for like 70 to 80 bucks, I think. Incredible. I find some great things at sidewalk sales. Let's see here. So the next two albums are probably, and it's hard. I mean, I've already told you I've wore the grooves off some of these early albums, but I think the next two might be the two best, or the two. If I really had to pick my favorite Russ Taff albums, the next two might be the pinnacle for me. The first one is The Way Home. This is a 1989 CD. At this point, though, I don't believe that Myrhh Records was pressing albums in the U.S. anymore. It was mainly UK pressings. So I have just bought the vinyl for this from a seller on Discogs, which is a record site that where record collectors sell records. So anyway, I have that one, but it's being shipped to me right now, so I don't have it in hand. But it's coming, and I'm very excited about that. It'll be the last, really, I think the last of the solo albums that I've got to pick up. This has got some great songs. Winds of Change, It Was Love, Farther On, The River Unbroken, He Came Through, I Cry. My favorite probably on here might be Go On, because Russ just lets it rip on that song. But there's still Take My Hand and Table in the Wilderness. Man, what an awesome, this album is another shift in the music, because this feels like more of a Heartland rock album than anything he's done previously. Great stuff. And look at that hair. Look at that hair. I never had, all my long hair attempts never look like that. And so just some lyrics in the and a picture of the band. And yeah, that's the same on the back. And that is 1989, the Way Home. The next album is probably my favorite album of all time, bar none. The Way Home is probably two. This is my favorite album of all time. It's Russ Taff Under Their Influence. It's Russ doing timeless classic songs. Just great songs like God Don't Never Change, Search Me Lord, God's Unchanging Hand, Life's Railway to Heaven, Were You There, As an Eagle Stirreth Her Nest. Man, everybody really should have really ought to been there. There's a Hand, and then Ain't No Grave. Man, he blew. What a great track. Ain't No Grave. And I believe Ashley Cleveland sang backup on that. I love Ashley. This is probably where I discovered her. What a great track. And James Holohan, guitar work on that album, phenomenal. So last year I started making these videos for the vinyl community, and so we do contests, and we ask questions, and you make a video, and then there's usually a drawing after the deadline passes, and the guy throwing the contest draws names out. And I won my second contest in the vinyl community. And I started looking on eBay. I thought I need to pick something good with this money. And even with the winnings, this album, because it was only pressed in the UK, it's kind of expensive. So I threw in a little bit of my own money with the contest money and got it. This came from England. It's Russ Taff's Under Their Influence, of course. I'm very thrilled to have a copy of it. I don't think there's there's not really an inner sleeve, and the cover you have to kind of be careful with, because it's not in the UK they don't use the same stock, so it's a little bit thinner than some of the other album covers. I believe that's Russ's mother. Great album. I'm just so thrilled. This was a big grail for me when I got this album. I didn't even know it existed until the day I ordered it. That was a great find. And then this will be the last thing I show. These two will be last, and then I'm going to break and go to another video. This is kind of I guess, the end of the Myrrh chapter for him with Myrhh Records. He did a Greatest Hits album, We Will Stand. I don't normally buy Greatest Hits album because I have all the other albums. Sometimes I'll buy them, especially if they've really been, if the songs were picked right and they make sense. And in this one, I don't know that I've listened to it all the way through that many times. I may not offer a opinion on that, but if you don't have any Russ, it's always, how can you go wrong, But I bought this one immediately because he does Your Love Stays With Me. And I've loved that song since I heard Gary Chapman do it. I got a performance track back when I was singing in church, and I sang it off Gary's track until I wore that one out. Then I thought, what am I going to do? And then this album came out. Russ does a great job with it. In fact, I recently picked this up. this is Your Love Stays With Me. It's the single. It's got an interview with Russ. I have not heard it yet. I just got it last week. Got it off of Discogs again. And so I'm very, very thrilled to have this. Can't wait to listen to it. Your Love Stays With Me. Fantastic song. Probably as many songs as I sang back when I was in my late teens and 20s to my early 30s. This was probably, this and Steve Green's Broken and Spilled Out were the two songs I love to sing the most. This is a great song. And so that's where we're going to stop this video. I will be back in just a minute, and we'll pick up with the rest of the regular albums. Okay? So for me, for Jake and Aretha, let's see. I hate to try to do this, but she looks so cute over here, laying on this blanket. Am I getting her? Hi, Aretha. She's snoozing. Yep. All right. So we'll see you in just a few minutes.